Okay, let's kick things off. Good afternoon or good morning if you're Jose. Welcome to our webinar. Today, I'm really pleased to welcome Jose, who's one of the product specialists over at Colorfront, who's coming in today, I think from Mexico. So definitely wins the prize for the longest commute. So thank you and welcome to you, Jose. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. So what we've got coming up, we're going to be taking you through the latest features from some of the Colorfront product lines, particularly through Transkoder and the streaming products. I'd like to keep these webinars as easy as possible. If you have a question to ask, please feel free to ask it, but please use the Q&A button that's down there rather than the chat. It's much easier for us to track your question then. If it's able, and it makes sense, we'll try and answer that during the webinar itself. If not, we will batch them up for questions at the end or possibly even take them offline if we need to. So please fill out the information in there and we will use that to get back to you. So really today, we want to bring you up to date. There's been lots of changes. You know, Colorfront is a fast moving software product, as we know, and things are changing all of the time. So we want to use this to particularly inform existing customers, although I know there are some new people on here as well, but really to bring existing customers particularly up to speed with where we are. And the key here is that these features will come with your latest build on the assumption that you are under support. So if you're not under support, then you need to bring your system back under support to get these features in. And, you know, this is not an insurance policy. You know, this is like getting new bits for your car, you know, each time you get a build. So, you know, it's a different thing. It's an ongoing, you know, iterative process, and there's lots of great stuff to show you. So we really appreciate you being here. So with that in mind, I'm going to kick off and hand over to Jose to take us through the new stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. Hi guys, good morning. Thanks for joining the webinar. So as Marc was saying, well, we're going to be updating you in what's new with Colorfront, and we have some exciting news. This is some of the stuff that we have showed at NAB back in April. And the first thing that we need to talk about is that now we have different tiers. We have two basic systems. If you might recall, before we used to have only a single Supermicro system with 4 A5000 GPU cards. Now we also have a second system, which is also Supermicro. It's a 740, but it's fitted with 2 A4500 cards. The idea being, a lot of people complained that the hardware was way too expensive and it was out of reach for a lot of people. So now our engineers at Colorfront updated the whole system and the core in order to be able to work with the dual A4500 and make the system way more affordable. We're talking about a little bit over 50% discount in comparison to the previous model. So if you're thinking about upgrading your system, I mean, you're running on a Supermicro with Titans or with 1080s and you're in need of upgrading your system, this might be a good time to do it because the system now is optimized to run on those under this a little bit lower spec hardware. Now, there are some limitations to the dual 4500 system, but the only limitation and the only thing that it cannot do is the main level 7 IMF, the one that is required by Disney, because that one requires 4 GPUs. Aside from that, you can do absolutely everything that you do with your regular transcoder. It's way too fast. In fact, that's the system that we have been using for demos. And we used that for IBC last year, and that's what we used at NAB this year, and it runs really well. So if you're interested in thinking about, you know, getting new hardware for your transcoder or getting a new transcoder and are thinking about hardware, now you have those options. You have both the dual 4500 system or the 4 A5000 GPU system. So those are the main news. On the other hand, a lot of people are going to be asking, what about Mac? Fortunately, we're moving along. Now the Mac build is almost ready to be released as beta to test. In fact, if you're interested, please let Marc know. It's on the beta access is on a per request basis, but now it's working. For the Mac system, you need a Mac Studio. the top of the line with the Ultra processor. So if you're interested, please let Marc know, and he might help you and put the request to see if we can give out one of the beta versions for Mac. Obviously, understanding that this is a brand new build, it's beta, so there might be some issues. So bear that into consideration if you're thinking about using this new Mac system. So that is on the hardware side of things. On the software side of things, we have a little bit over 40 new features added into the 23 version. As Marc was saying, these new features are going to be available in the beta, which is also being released now. If you're interested into getting the beta, please ask Marc so he can request access for that. As Marc said, you have to be under the support contract in order to get these features, but these are available for you to test now. The build is pretty stable now, and you can actually start doing some work with it. So let me share my screen on
just while you're doing that, Jose, I've just had a confirmation there that
sure.
The Mac version is a beta, but only for existing customers. So if you are, a prospect here or someone that's not already running Colorfront software, it's not for you just at the minute. So if you're an existing customer who already knows the systems, then we'll take a look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly. Okay, so let me share my screen, and what we're watching now is, as you might know, this is the regular Transkoder interface. This is the 2023 build. In fact, it's the latest one is from this morning, and everything looks quite familiar as it used to be. We have made some changes that are really important that we need to address, and some of the new features that we have implemented in this build. So in regards to the interface, we now have the ability to use custom shortcuts. A lot of people say, I know by memory all my Avid shortcuts, or all my Premiere or Resolve or whatever, and I want to map those shortcuts. So now we're able to use custom shortcuts if we want. For now, you have to use the XML. And here, for example, we can see select hotkey layout, and now we have classic and modern. Classic stands for all the shortcuts that you already know with Transkoder, and with modern, you can create your own layout using the XML and assign your own shortcut. So if that is something that you're keen on doing, you might create your own shortcuts if you so desire. Also, we can specify on the settings some new stuff. So a lot of people always use the same media over and over, right? So if we come here to user, now we have a folder called default bin media path. So the system, if you specify a specific path on this window, every time you open your Transkoder, whatever is located on that bin will be loaded to your project. Let's say that you have cards, or you have a certain intro file or whatever, you can set it there and it'll load automatically. So that is a big help. It can allow you to create and build your projects. As you might know, normally when we create the projects, some standard stuff pops in, like black bars, things like that. Now you're able to select what kind of media you can load if you want, right? So aside from that, something that is very interesting is on the QC side of things. We have now changed the method of luminance validation for the HDR reports. As you know, for most HDR deliverables, you need to hand out an HDR report from Transkoder. And previously, all the luminance validation was done using, the calculation was done using max RGB. Now we have this setting called luminance, and this one is way more precise than max RGB. So if you guys are doing any sort of validation, it's important that you change it to luminance. This is already available on the 2022 version update 4. This has been updated there, and it's something that might help you getting more precise results on your HDR reports. Something interesting as well when we're talking about some of the settings is that now we also have Dolby Vision processing version 4 with cinema trims. As you might be aware, Dolby Vision now has the ability to add cinema trims and create 48-nit trim, as well as an HDR trim for Dolby Cinema. Now we support the Dolby Vision 4 with cinema trims, so we can create that as well. And we also have L11 features if you so desire. If someone asks you for L11 features, now we can have them as well. So that has also been implemented. So what we have here on my timeline is a trailer. This is a trailer from Oppenheimer, the movie that is about to be released now. So we're going to use this to show you some of the new features. So what we're going to do is create a couple of reports to show you some of the new stuff. So I go to the P page, to render page, and now something that we need to state is that now we have a little bit different layout. So now we have here a new tab called QC, and here we have several reports. In this case, the frame light level statistics report that you're familiar with, now it's under QC. So in this case, I select frame light level statistics. I select here my settings. I want to create a PDF report for this. Framing, I'm going to set this is 239 if I'm not mistaken. So that is going to be one of the reports that I'm going to generate. And here, let me see, we have a new option called Add Markers. So what this does is that if it finds some issues regarding luminance or out of gamut issues, we can add markers to the timeline, which is going to be pretty useful. So here we click on Add Markers, right? So we're going to be generating the PDF report. We're going to be adding markers, and we're going to be using the new features. We're going to run another report here under audio. We have the loudness report, which also now supports, you see, audio. It's here, loudness. It was under audio, now it's under loudness. Now we support gated dialogue loudness as well. And we're going to also generate a new report here under QC called Auto QC. What this does is analyzes framing for the program. So we click render, and we're going to generate these 3 reports at the same time. So what we're going to be doing is analyzing luminance, analyzing out of gamut issues. We're going to analyze loudness, and we're going to also analyze framing for this specific shot. So the idea is that we can generate here all the information that we need to QC properly our files. And Transkoder is going to generate new tracks. And under these new tracks, we're going to add those markers, as we will see once this is finished. So once we're done here, as you can see, I have 3 tracks. One is called Max CLL, another one is called Gamut, and another one is called Framing. So let's start here with the Gamut and the CLL. And what basically this does is that when I come here, for example, at Gamut, it shows me that I have issues here related to Gamut. Or it shows me that I have issues here related to CLL. Now, if I come here and show my report, click reveal render files in browser. Let me see where the report went. Auto QC, generated, light levels, report. Something interesting is that now when we create the report, we do not only generate the report as we used to before, where we show the maximum luminance and the maximum gamut level at the top, but we now also show the specific frames over max CLL and the specific frames outside of gamut limit, indicating exactly the first frame and the last frame where the issue is selected and the error amount. So before, as you might remember, we only got like the maximum out of gamut or the maximum or the maximum luminance of a specific shot. But if we had 3 or 4 instances of shots where we had issues, we could not identify them so easy. So right now we're able to show them here directly in the report, which makes all the process of QCing way easier. So this is one of the biggest new features, and you will be able to generate the report and go directly to the place where the issues are done, right? So that is in regards to framing, to MaxiLL and Gamut. So for framing, what does the framing does? Basically, it analyzes our shot and sees if there are issues related to framing of our shot. So in order to do that, when I come here to the node pipeline, I can recall a node that I have created. I right click, and now we have this favorites tab on our nodes. And in this case, I already have a framing QC node that I have created and I have set up as a favorite. So I come here, I add the node to my pipeline. And basically what this does is that it adds the information from the analysis to my timeline. So as you can see here, let me come here, and we have here on the node, here I have custom text for 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this reflects the information that has been generated. So when I come here and we show and we play the show, it shows when we have any sort of issue. So in this case, for example, it shows here that I have an area with issues, right? Then when I come here, for example, let me move back a little bit. These arrows indicate me that there are framing issues. So in this case, the analysis has detected that there are 3 frames on the right and 3 frames on the left. So basically, this trailer, as it was released, had framing issues. Obviously, it's quite complicated to see this by eye and mostly on a dark shot like this, but the system detects and analyzes if I have any sort of issue, right? So this is pretty important. This helps a lot, and it helps me detect if I have some issues and helps me correct them if I need to, right? Now, also something important in regards to the CLL and the Gamut features that we have is that now we can use the CFE node as a sort of legalizer. So let me come back here to my pipeline. We know that we have issues here with Gamut and luminance on my show, right? How can I fix this quite fast and on a really straightforward way? I can right click, select color space, and then create a CFE node and use the CFE as a legalizer. So in this case, I set the in preset as PQ 2020, 1000 nits, the curve is PQ, and here as the out preset, I'm going to set also PQ 2020 constrained to P3. So basically what this is doing is that this is limiting the gamut and the luminance for the show and putting everything in order if I so desired. If I see that there are some issues with the way that mapping is done, something that has been recommended by Bill Feitner, our CTO, is that we can tweak the in brightness a little bit, and instead of setting the in brightness at, let's say, 1000, we can set up at 100, around that. And the way that this limiter works, instead of like the regular limiters that used to chop everything that was outside of the levels, it remaps the entire thing. So now the luminance, and let me show you here. When I show you my analyzer, let me see. When I show you the analyzer and I bypass, you can see the way that it remaps. Let me change the analysis color, the analyzer color space to PQ 2020. This was off. So you can see the way that it remaps, and it does not chop, but it remaps both the color and the luminance. So that would be one way of fixing things up. So something else that we have done, let me remove these tracks. delete marker track, timeline, delete marker track. Let me select this one here. We also have implemented some QC features for Dolby Vision. So let's add Dolby Vision metadata to this project. So I come here to Dolby Vision, I select apply XML master metadata to events on active track. I come here to the place where I have my metadata and I load it, right? So I load it as usual. You see the orange line on top, and you see the dotted lines that indicate the shots. However, how do I verify this? So if I select Control D and select my validation window, this is the same one that you use for validating IMFs and DCPs. Here on the bottom, we have Dolby Vision, right? So here, when I select Dolby Vision, now on top, I have this option that says markers, right? So with markers selected on, I click on Start, and basically it does the validation. It creates a new validation report, and it creates a new marker track. And here on the marker track, I see that there are some issues with my Dolby Vision metadata, right? So this might be offsets, this might be a false cut. I mean, it shows me where I might have issues. So when you're validating your Dolby Vision metadata and the metadata is out of sync, or it determines a cut that has not been detected by the actual analysis, it shows you where the problem lies, right? So this is also pretty helpful. It will allow you to select and fix any issues that you might have. So let's say, for example, I know that this is wrong. Someone has created a new Dolby Vision version. So let me remove the marker track. Let me clear the master metadata, and now I'm going to import the correct Dolby Vision metadata. So apply XML master metadata. I select the correct one, select file, apply it, then run my validation again. It does a validation and it shows me a single offset track. Now, why is it showing a single marker instead of all the stuff? There's a certain threshold, so this has to be checked manually, because the way that the analysis does, the analysis works, it detects a cut based on on the light level statistics. So this might be a false positive. We would need to change that, but we see that all the other stuff has been fixed, right? So let's say that this was a DCP. We have already an IMF. Sorry, we have already created the IMF, and we need to perform fixes, right? So this is another feature that is really interesting in regards to the new feature. So I remove here my timeline track. Delete here the timeline track. I'm going to add a new video track to add inserts, right? So I come here to the V2, I change my insert type from position to time code, and here I have some inserts that I have already corrected or fixed. So I press V, and since these inserts have the correct time code, they're going to fall into place, right? So now I have my fixes, but they don't have the Dolby Vision metadata. And then I'm going to also let's see. There used to be black, now there's not. So I'm going to show you some other feature here. But now I have these inserts here, but these inserts don't have Dolby Vision metadata. Since I know that these issues, the issues that these files had are only framing issues, basically all the Dolby Vision metadata remains the same. So instead of having to create and import new Dolby Vision metadata, what I can do is come here to File, Dolby Vision, and select Copy Metadata Up from V1. When I click here, basically what happens, is that here I have metadata. It shows me that the metadata is a little bit longer, that I have to check this, the sync, but it copied all the metadata from the file that is below. So that this way I can copy the metadata from V1 and then update it on the new inserts to create a new VF if I needed to, right? Also, something new that we have on this new version is that now we have different nodes. So if I come here under other, we have the first new node is burn-in 2, and here under burn-in 2, we have new features for the node, and this has been requested by a lot of people. We can now create a new burn-in with different fonts. We can modify the font in this case. In this case, I only have 3 fonts on my system, but I can add as many monotype fonts as I want. I can modify the font size. I can modify the color and do whatever I want. So let's say, for example, I add the, let's say, time code here. There's some sort of issue here. And now it looks like there might be a bug. Something is wrong with a render here. Let's see. Syntax, yeah, there was some issue there, but we can modify the colors, we can modify the text, we can modify position, we can change the fonts, and we can do that however we want. We can drop shadows, and we have more control over our burn-in node, which is also a new feature. Also, something that we can do now is that if we go to the new shots table, which I can recall by using Alt-T. Let me go here. I can create custom time codes. So now I can modify the slate text here, and I can recall it using a burning node, and I can also modify the custom time code if I so desired. So this is also a brand new feature that has been added. So as long as I recall it on my burning node, coming here to the shots table, I can modify the slate text, and I can modify the custom time code if I so desire. So this is also a new feature. Also, some other new node that we have added is the new logo node. You might have you might have seen it before. If I have the logo now and I load any sort of media, which can be a TGA or a PNG, I can load it into the logo folder inside of my transcoder, and now I can recall it here from the logo file. So in this case, I can add, for example, the NMF logo. I can scale it, make it bigger, make it smaller, change the position, transparency, and all that stuff. That is also brand new in this new version of Transkoder. So this is pretty interesting. Also, something that we have done and that we have added to this version is something that is called the web forms. What is web forms? Let me switch to my browser here and open my Transkoder. And here, I don't know if you're familiar with the web forms. With the web forms, what you can do is that as long as you have access to your Transkoder system, whether it's from the same computer or from any other computer on the network, you can access this web interface. And through this web interface, you can do multiple things. So in this case, for example, I have several forms that have been already preloaded into the system. So in this case, for example, I have here convert movie file to DCP. I have generate Dolby Vision metadata, render with Dolby Vision metadata, SDR proxy from OCN folder, IMF validation, light level analysis. And basically these forms have been already created by Colorfront. If you go to the support website for Colorfront, you can, under downloads, and let me go there and show you where you can download the forms. If you come here to additional components, we have customizable forms. And here we have a bunch of forms that have been already created. Dolby Vision HDBC from SDR videos, light level analysis form, and you can download this and install them into your transcoder and basically generate this sort of functionality. So in this case, let's say, for example, I want to generate the Dolby Vision metadata. The way that this works is by using a simple interface and without having to give access to my users to the transcoder interface, they can generate the Dolby Vision metadata if they desire. So give me a sec. Let me see. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chris. I just said the web forms aren't coming up there. There we go. Thank you, Jose.
There we go. Sorry about that. I was talking about the web forms. So here, this is the you're looking at the browser, right?
Oh yeah, we see the browser now.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about. This is on the download section of the Colorfront website, on the support website. And here we have a bunch of the forms that have been generated. And here on the interface, this is how the forms look like. So it's a simple form. You can give access to your users and you can select the source movie file. You can select the source color encoding. You can select the framing, mastering display, the encoder preset, the file name, extension, and the output path. So this way we remove any sort of a friction from accessing the transcoder interface, which for a lot of people is quite intimidating, and we make things easy. The ways that this works is that, let's say that I select the source movie file, I select all my parameters, and I click submit. This file will be submitted to the background render of transcoder. So it'll be sent to the queue, and then from the queue, it'll be queued up and worked appropriately. So you can do basically all of these features and all of the forms that are there. But we now also have this called the Form Factory. What is Form Factory? Basically, the Form Factory is a way for you to create your own custom forms. So you create basically a transcoder receipt. Let's say that you set up your pipeline inside transcoder with your custom process, whichever it is, and you create a transcoder receipt. Then you import this transcoder receipt onto this form factory and import exactly the process the way that you have set it up. And then you can tweak and make the form however you want it. This process takes a little bit of time. It requires a little bit of modification from your own pipeline. But the way that it works is that it allows you to set up your own process, create your own form, and show or hide whichever function you want your users to see. So let's say that, for example, you always work in Rec 2020, you don't ever use P3D65. You can hide that field. So that way you eliminate the risk of someone rendering in the incorrect color space. So you can set up and just leave the fields that you want exposed to your users and not leave the entire thing open. So this is really useful. This is also a new feature that is going to be implemented. So when you do this and use the web forms along with the automation provided by watch folders and all of that, you can automate basically probably 60 or 70% of the functions of your transcoder. So you can have your transcoder operator do the things that are relevant and not like the day-to-day stuff. So you can generate a watch folder, run some tasks automatically, then have a form or forms for your users to perform whatever tasks they need. And your transcoder operator is going to be doing the heavy lifting and not the simple stuff. So that is one way to optimize the way that your system works. And this is pretty interesting in that sense. Also,
so
something
a quick question there, Jose, as well, while you're there, just fundamental. Can the source movie files be image sequences?
As far as I know, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Also, something that has been added in this case, I don't have anything on the render queue, but if I did, now we have thumbnails on the render queue. So let's say that you're monitoring how your render queue is doing. The only way to monitor that is via this web interface. So you come to the render queue, and now you will be able to see thumbnails of the projects that are being rendered. So if your users are submitting something to the queue and you want to see exactly what it is, then you'll see them here with a thumbnail of the project that is being rendered at the time. So these are some of the things that we have added. Also, if you use streaming on Transkoder, now we also have the option to invite the users to the stream if you, directly from here. So when you're streaming, you can come to the Transkoder interface. In this case, since I'm not streaming, the menu is not showing, but I can invite directly the users. I can stream here, and then I can invite the people directly from Transkoder. I don't have to go to the broker to invite the client. So that is also something that has been added to the new build. So talking about streaming, and this is the second product that we're going to be talking about. I don't know if you want to go through questions first, Marc, for Transkoder, or we move to the streaming server.
I think we've hit the biggies there. So thank you for that. Now the questions I think we've covered off.
Okay.
So yeah, so please, yeah, let's look at streamer.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to quit my Transkoder here, and I'm going to show you something that we have been working with for the past year, actually. And we have something called the streaming server. So you might have heard of this. This is the regular streaming server is a 1U appliance. It's a system that is a Supermicro 1U rack unit that supports 4 SDI ins. They can be 4K, 444, and you can stream whatever you want directly to the web on a really secure manner and get that going. So the way that this works is that you send from you input the signal, any sort of SDI signal that you can get from, it can be your resolve, your baseline, your editing system, your nuke, whatever you can get SDI out of, you can put it into a streaming server and then stream that directly via the streaming server. And the way that it works is that it sends the signal. Our broker handles the invitations and the control for the stream, and then you can send this stream to any sort of device. So you can invite people and they can join using an iPhone, they can join using an iPad, using our streaming player, or they can join from a Mac or Windows system. And more so if they have a proper interface and a proper IO card on their Windows or Mac system, the player takes over the IO card and gets the signal out to your reference monitor. So I can be streaming.
Yeah, Jose,
Sure.
just because not everyone's across this. If you're looking at iPad Pros, only the 12.9 inch, the largest one, has the higher nit display on there. So it really looks great on the larger iPad Pros. So the 10.9 inches or whatever they are don't run the same screen, but it's a great excuse to buy a new iPad.
Yeah, and in fact, Bill Feiner, our CTO, says that if you don't have access to a proper reference monitor, the second best thing is to use the iPad Pro. The colors are pretty spot on. There are some recommendations for the iPad Pro. You have to turn on turn on the reference mode and turn off the true light thing and this feature
True color, yeah,
like the true color thing. But outside from that, when you turn on the reference mode, the streaming player takes over the control of the color inside the iPad, and it looks quite good. So basically, the way that it works is that it sends the stream through the broker, and the broker sends it through the iPad or iPhone or a Mac or Windows that can take over your system and output the signal directly to your reference monitor. Also, something that can be done is that you can calibrate an OLED screen. Let's say, for example, you have a C3 OLED screen with an Apple TV, and you send that to your client, and you install the streaming player into that Apple TV, and then send the stream directly to that calibrated screen. So your client knows that what they're watching is exactly what you're watching at your room with a properly calibrated system. So that is the streaming server. It's an appliance. It supports 4K up to 444 streams with Dolby Vision, HDR, the full works. But now we also have the streaming server mini, which is what you're looking at now. And this is a software-based solution. So you basically install this app on your computer. You set it up, and as long as you have an I/O card, whether it's a Blackmagic or an AJA, it can detect the signal, an SDI signal, and stream the signal using the same technology. So in this case, for example, what I'm getting here, it's an NDI feed because we also support NDI. So this is basically being sent from NDI from a Resolve computer into the system. And this can be streamed directly to the broker. Now, the limitations with the streaming server mini is that we can only do HD. We can do HDR, we can do Dolby Vision, everything, but only in HD and only a single stream. So in this case, let me start the stream here. I click Start Stream, and basically the system is starting to stream the whole the signal to the web. So the way that it works is that now when I come to my browser, I come here to the broker, and in this case here, this is what you would see on the broker on the web. So you come here, it has a route called NaturalMF Colorfront, and it detects that I have a streaming server with an IP, and it's sending the signal and it's broadcasting the signal to whoever I want. And in this case, I have it configured to HD 709, 420, 10 megabits at 23,976. And the way that this works is that if I click here on invite, I can share via email the invite. So in this case, I can type Marc's address or whoever I want to invite, type the address, send the session title in the invite and the text. You have been invited to my stream. I can send the invitation as a single use only, or I can use authentication if I so desire. In the case of single use only, the way that it works is that this link, by the moment, let's say that I invite Marc clicks on the link, and then the link is basically unusable anymore. If I don't select this, he can open it on his iPad plus his computer, he can share the link, etc. And we can send this up to 5 people. In the case of the regular server, of the regular 1U unit, you can set up to 25. In this case, we can only send to 5, because here is where the good news come. This is free for now. So if you're interested in using the system, you can go to colorfront.com/streaming, sign up for the trial, and get this installed on your computer today. And you can start streaming immediately, unlimited, without any sort of restrictions, without any watermarks or anything like that. And you can start streaming your whatever SDI signal or NDI signal you can get into your system, and you can get it directly to your customers. The limits are that each stream session can only last for up to 24 hours, and then you have to restart it if you so desire. But that's basically it. I mean, you can stream day in and day out on every system that you have on your facility, or in every system that requires it. And the idea is that you can use this for, editing bays or VFX stations, whatever you want, you can use without a limitation. The only thing is that if you're using a Blackmagic card, you need to create like a patch cord to get the IO out. That's the SDI out into the SDI in to get it properly working, because there's no buffer. In the case of AJA cards, you can get a buffer working. So the system detects the buffer directly from the AJA cards, and you don't need to make this loop. But outside from that, you can, if you're working on the same, let's say that you install the streaming server mini on the same system as your Nuke or your Resolve or whatever, you need to make this loop and get it going. And this is quite useful. It's pretty secure. It has been audited by TPN. The protocol that it uses for streaming is called SRT, which is a secure, reliable transport protocol, which is really, really safe. And it works really, really well. In fact, it's being used by a lot of the major platforms. It's being used for QC, remote QC. It's being used for dailies. It's being used to review on set. Some people are using it actually to stream what's being captured on set. You know, from the DIT card, they send the feed directly to the streaming server mini, and from there they stream to the customer. I mean, there are a lot of features that can be done, and it's quite useful, and it's free. So if you guys are interested, you can download the trial now.
I was going to say there, if you would like to look at any of this, please feel free to reach out to us. Obviously, as Jose says, the demo version is available to download. Part of this is included in Transkoder if you're already a Transkoder customer. We also have demo units of the appliance, the 4-stream 4K version of it, which we're happy to loan out for you to try in your facility and test it out. Or we can also do a stream from us to you. This is one of the few demos you can actually do in a pub as well. I think last week I demoed to a cinematographer literally on a pub bench to show them how we could do an HDR, you know, a stream that he could monitor a production on remotely. So it's very easy to show. So if you have any, you know, any interest, or please come back to us, and we will find a way of getting you a demo.
Yep, and I mean, if you have any questions, or if you're interested in any of these features, or the new Transkoder features, or for the non-customers want to try out a Transkoder system, reach out to Marc. Marc has a demo Transkoder unit. He can set it up for you. We can set up a quick intro so you can test it out and play with it and see if it fits your workflow. Up to now, whatever you send to any major platform in the world, it's going to be reviewed or QC'd on a Transkoder. Most of the facilities everywhere use Transkoder, and it's become the de facto for most of the major platforms. So if you're interested, please reach out to Marc. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us as well. We can try to answer whatever you might have. And if we cannot answer it directly, we have support directly from the team of the programmers at Budapest, which are always working to get things going and make things work properly. So if you have any inquiries, please reach out, and we'll be happy to help.
Excellent, thank you. I'll just let that share away there. 2 seconds. Excellent. Well, look, I've checked in. Their questions have been coming through. I'll get back to a couple of people after this, but thank you very much for everybody's participation and everybody's questions. As I say, we're here. Just let us know. We can help with demos of Transkoder, of the streaming servers, or any of the other products for that matter. We're more than happy to come over and get that set up for you, or help you with your existing systems. If you're not on support, please double check where you are. You'll have an email from us reminding you, but you can see these features you know, are really cool and coming regularly. So if we can get you back onto support again, we'd love to do that. I have to say thank you, of course, to Jose for getting up, not as early as you did last time, but still early enough. So we really appreciate you joining us there from Colorfront. So thank you so much. And we will make a recording available of this after the event, if any colleagues of yours need to see it, or if anybody missed it. But otherwise, I'm Marc Risby, and hopefully you know where to find me at Boxer if you need anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jose.
Bye-bye.